Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marty.
Brutus, the Barber Beefcake.
Don't undersell yourself. Hall of Famer Brutus Beefcake. Former WWF Tag Team Champion Brutus Beefcake. WrestleMania 9 Kona main eventer Brutus Beefcake. Best-selling author Brutus Beefcake. Wrestling fans, it's Hell in a Cell Sunday. Stand by. We're back with a brand new Wrestling Insiders next.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the first installment of this program back on Clash of Champions Sunday on WWE's pay-per-view offering. Some, Brutus said they enjoyed our show more than the pay-per-view. I think that's a great compliment.
Wow. How about that? Don't tell anybody.
They
Get me in trouble.
They love the memories and legends of this show. I know I did get a little bit of heat from our junior ambassador at home, who we were talking about on our Disney World trips, Devon. Maybe we'll get a picture for you before Brutus leaves. I don't know. It depends on if you do your homework and do your chores. That remains to be seen. But we continue our mission to barrel through the year that was 1988, a great year, not only in the World Wrestling Federation, but professional wrestling in general. It's just one of those golden ages, so to speak. As we talk about some of the comings and the goings in that great promotion, one that kind of surprised me that left in early 1988 was a guy that was setting records across the board just a little over a year earlier, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Were you surprised to see a guy like that go that was making big money?
Wow, yeah, Paul, I didn't even really remember he left in '88. It seemed like it was later than that. But yeah, I knew Paul. Paul's a Florida guy.
Yeah.
Went to high school, rival high school from where I went to school.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul always had a reputation, and Paul was a real, even in high school, very well built, very strong, well beyond the kids that were, he was with at the time. Man, he was a stallion, and Paul's great in wrestling and in the ring and his psychology, and I loved tagging up with him. And I think there's a little chapter in the book about me and Paul tagging up in Japan.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I can't wait to read that.
Yeah, that's that's really funny. We had a great time.
Well, we had Paul here in this very studio in your seat a couple of times. Some great memories from that. Kind of an intense individual. Is that the PC way to say it a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Was he maybe tired from the road at that point? Did he seem a little grumpy in the locker room, or just one day it's just another one of the brothers that moved on to something different?
I never really asked him why he decided to. Could have been some family issues. Mm-hmm. I know that he had an injury to his shoulder.
Very serious injury. That was in late '86, and the arm never went back to normal for him.
I think the injury was progressing, and I think that might have been one of the things that retired him, from the ring.
Well, when we have our Back to the 80s event that you've been booked for, whenever life lets us have live professional wrestling again, along with yourself, Paul was one of the featured stars booked, so it'll be great to see him. It's been very sad to see the health problems Paul's had. He's a good guy.
Yeah, you can't, you never know. It can strike everybody down, can strike you down in a heartbeat. So it's, like I said, it's just trying to appreciate life, live life to the fullest, every day you can, because it can go quickly.
You never know if there's going to be a tomorrow.
Yeah,
you just never know. But hopefully many more. I don't know if you're a religious person, but we try. Oh, really? Okay, great. So we try and keep the positive thoughts and prayers going. I don't know if you're Catholic like I am, but that's a great thing. I appreciate that too. February 5th, 1988, you weren't actually on the show, but it'll go down as one of the biggest nights in the history of professional wrestling. Indianapolis, Indiana. Hulk Hogan and the Giant on prime time television. not 3 million people like WWE would probably love to hit in 2020 on Monday Night Raw. No, 33 million people tuned in to see Hogan and Andre in a WrestleMania 3 rematch on NBC. Hulk Hogan's a little over 4+ year reign as champion comes to an end thanks to Andre, Ted DiBiase, and evil twin referees. Any memories that I'm sure you were probably in the building for that one, on what was just a great night in the history of the sport?
Not to sound. I don't even think I was there, but be honest with you, brother. They were running. They never just ran one show unless it was like WrestleMania. There was always multiple shows in different cities. There's just too much talent to leave sitting around. So I don't remember have any memory of being in Indy that night. So I think I was headlining in another city with some other guys. Probably.
You were probably the B team that night, headlining on that one. Probably with Valentine, as a matter of fact, because that was who you had for dozens and dozens of matches into early
the World
88.
Tag Team Champions. They had you'd have the Intercontinental Champions and the World Tag Team Champions. Headlining cards and for sellouts everywhere. So they wouldn't pass up that.
Anytime they could make a buck, I mean, almost like circus animals just being sent town to town. Although the circus animals got driven, you guys had to drive your own rent-a-cars.
Yeah, wasn't anything given to us. We had to take whatever we needed to get. We had to take it.
Valentine's Day 1988. It was a house show. It was Hogan and Bam Bam against Andre and DiBiase, but the venue was kind of interesting. It took place, you worked, Greg, on this one as well, at the Pontiac Silverdome. I didn't realize this until later on, but after the WrestleMania 3 iconic event, there were house shows that took place at the Pontiac Silverdome. Now, I can't imagine they had a setup for 93,000 people for a house show. How would the Pontiac be configured for an event like that? Did they curtain part of the building off, or?
Geez, brother, you honestly asking me?
Yeah. You don't remember, I guess.
Well, first of all, I don't remember being there. Not for nothing, but 10,000 matches in 10,000 cities. I wish I was that good. I wish I could remember every night and what the configuration was in the building that night. Geez, brother, yeah, you got me with that one.
I wasn't trying to stump you. It's just how many house shows would take place in a giant dome like that? Most, basketball arenas and hockey arenas and things like that.
Yeah, we didn't really have to curtain off any arenas because there was more than enough people willing to pay to sit there. I'm sure, there absolutely wasn't 93,000 people there. That's for sure. But I don't think they had to curtain it off, but I just couldn't tell you, brother. You got me. You stumped me with that one.
I'm not trying. We just want to relive those good old days. When I realized that they had house shows at the Silverdome after WrestleMania 3, I thought that was just a one-off. I found that kind of interesting.
And I thought it was a one-off, too.
Did you?
I thought that was the last show they ever had there. As far as I knew, that was the last show that was ever done there.
Until they went into the Palace of Auburn Hills in Detroit when that opened, when the Detroit Pistons played. That was kind of a stop after WrestleMania 3, and I thought that was really interesting. One man's opinion.
Yeah, brother, there's been so many arenas and
cities,
so many towns,
countries.
The world is a big place.
The only thing you haven't hit yet are planets, and who knows, that might even happen before it's all said and done.
I think I took a few trips to Mars and back.
All right, in March, we had Saturday night's main event, another big part of the WWF formula to be able to be so successful to replace Saturday Night Live a few times a year, which was one of the biggest TV shows in Hollywood, just to show the power of WWF at the time. Again, you worked Greg the Hammer Valentine heading into WrestleMania 4, but the seeds were planted for a big showdown with you and the Intercontinental Champion at the time, who was white hot, the Honky Tonk Man. At what point did you start to realize you and Honky were going to be headed into a big program together?
At what point? You know, the Intercontinental belt is grooming people for the world title belt. So Honky had a great run with it. And we're talking 88 here again,
88,
right?
you got it, yep.
And I think I was supposed to get, what, 89? So when did they switch it up and put Warrior in there?
That was SummerSlam 88, later in the year.
SummerSlam 88.
Right.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I was working programs with Honky because I was going to get the belt. And, yeah, Warrior changed all that and was not happy about it at all. It was not a good time for me. I worked very hard, long and very hard, and deserved that spot, deserved to get that belt. And Warrior came in, and I mean, yeah, he had his assets, but you know, I didn't see it. You know, there was other people that saw different things and were more impressed, but it cost me. You got to change the whole way, you know, the whole route of my life. Things happened that started a chain of events that that accident in 1990 may not have ever happened if I had got the belt when I was supposed to, and would have been going a whole different direction.
The whole course of your life.
Changed the whole course of my life. But you know, that's decisions, things like that happen in your life, and big things happen, and you know, the next thing you know, off you go, and this way and that way. But that was a huge one. I would have sure given anything to go back and try that one again and see where it went, because you know, they were grooming me for no doubt they were grooming me for the world title belt from Hogan to take it. That's all they were saying. Beefcake, and then the accident took me out of the picture. And then, well, Brett was that who came in after me after that, not long after Hogan.
When you
was
had
Brett.
the accident?
Yeah.
Warrior was the champion when you had the accident.
Right, Warrior, but then wound, not for long, not for too long, really. And then Brett got the belt, what, 90?
He got it in late 92, right before you came back to start the WrestleMania 3 program, the WrestleMania 9 program in 93. Right.
And then Brett. Yeah, it changed the whole thing. It worked out good for Brett.
Yeah.
I'm happy for him, man. I love Brett and Davey Boy and Jim. We were all very good, close friends. And his family, I say with their families in you know, Calgary, many times, and some tremendous matches with those guys, and tremendous friends, and tremendous times. Tremendous times.
Headed into WrestleMania 4 itself, there was talk from different folks we've had here in the studio that you may get the Intercontinental Championship, not at SummerSlam, but in Atlantic City at the big event. But Honky, a couple of months before, was supposed to drop the Intercontinental belt to Savage, and he balked at doing so because he didn't think there was going to be any upside to him. It was to the moon with Randy, and Honky thought he was going to be forgotten. Did you think, headed into the WrestleMania 4 event in Atlantic City, that might be the night you were going to get the belt? Or did you know ahead of time that it was going to be a summer-long build?
Yeah, no, I knew I wasn't getting the belt.
Oh, you knew going into 4 it was going to be a DQ?
Yeah.
At WrestleMania 4 itself in Atlantic City, did you have a chance to meet the future president of the United States?
Absolutely.
And what did you think of Donald Trump?
I think he was a great guy. Super nice. Super nice to me. Treated me like a celebrity, like a king. You know, very polite, very nice, very businesslike. I thought he had, you know, had everything going for him. There's actually photos and trading cards of my match with Honky, and Donald is in the front row.
Yeah, with
At ringside.
Ivana.
Yeah. And that's the only match he watched. was my match. Because there's no other photos of him at ringside. Only that one photo. So he was a Beefcake fan too. And he was there watching the match.
Did you get to meet the lovely Vanna White?
Oh, sure.
I know her and Marty became friendly, to be politically correct, at different times they ran into each other as life went on. But I mean,
Bob Uecker, Mary Tyler Moore, Ozzy Osbourne, you know, everybody. Everybody who came down the pike was, they were loving life. They loved the boys.
I thought Bob Uecker added a lot to those shows. He really seemed like he was interested in what he was doing.
Oh, he was excited. He never stopped. He never shut up for a minute. His favorite line is, "Fuck baseball. I love this. I love this. This is the best thing ever. Fuck baseball." He kept cracking me up the whole time. He was funny, one of the funniest guys we ever had.
What were the accommodations like at Trump Tower? Did they take good care of the boys that weekend for the show?
Oh yeah, we had beautiful rooms. You know, we were taken care of. We were in the casino, you know, playing some blackjack, playing craps, shooting craps in the casinos. Yeah, they took care of us first class treatment all the way, drinks, anything you wanted. It was all right there, and the Donna was you know, treated the boys like royalty.
I've heard that from several individuals, that he was first class to everybody involved.
Like royalty. I never saw him being mean to, you know, employees. I never saw him being mean to anybody. The guy has class. You know, he's just, no matter what everybody says, he's a really good guy. You know, he just is. But like me, I think sometimes he gets frustrated with stupidity.
Did you think, almost 30 years before the fact when it happened, that this would be a man that will go on to become the President of the United States?
Never saw that one coming, brother.
I don't think you were the only one.
If I had saw that one coming, I would have get him to sign some of those cards.
No kidding, right? Yeah. Think about what those would go for nowadays with his signature on them, right?
Yeah, not too late. I might be able to get him on the phone, get him to sign something for me.
Do you think he was a big fan of what WWF was doing?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh, he was.
I've heard that. Yeah, yeah. What about the match with Honky Tonk itself? Any memories of that? Anything special to you, or certainly a different individual to work with than Greg Valentine? Honky was just kind of.
I worked well with Honky. Hundreds of matches with Honky. I actually saw that match you're talking about not long ago. For some reason, somebody had it on somewhere, or a friend of mine sent a video of it to my phone or something, and I was watching it on my phone. And yeah, Honky was a night off for me. We didn't have to plan anything. We didn't have to rehearse anything. We could go out there and have, you know, a 30-minute long match, you know, flawless. No problem.
And it turned into a hot house show feud in the spring and the summer of '88. You guys were doing great business everywhere. I remember here in Boston, it was, talk about a loaded lineup. You and Honky, Demolition and Strikeforce for the tag titles, and Duggan and Andre. I mean, that's a triple main event right there. That was big business. And then for the returns, Jimmy Hart was banned from the building, and then he'd unmask as Peggy Sue.
Peggy Sue, yeah.
Yeah. And then you'd do returns where you had Georgia in your corner, who was George.
Just somebody sent me that one too. The other day was watching me in Georgia out there with Honky and Peggy Sue. Those were the days, man. Those were the days. No triple Lindy flips off the balconies, smashing through off the top of the cage through tables. It was George Steele sticking his tongue out and biting the turnbuckle, and me throwing a couple punches and putting on a sleeper. And the crowd went wild.
As much as any ladder or table.
They loved it. We kept it simple, but they still loved it. Thank God.
Now, when you had that big house show run with Honky, trying to compare it to what you did with Valentine earlier in the year, was there a big bump in pay for you, where it was kind of, as opposed to an upper mid-card match, main events a lot of nights?
Well, you're working for the belt.
Yeah.
It's a bump in pay. And, Honky lost as much as I did. When he didn't drop the belt to me, he dropped it to Warrior. That was it. He didn't work with Warrior anymore. When he dropped the belt to me, we were going to wrestle all around the territory. And he's going to pick up the main event money, great houses every night around the territory for 4 months, whatever. And, and then going to his next run or whatever. But that's what's supposed to happen, and he didn't get he didn't get to finish his run, and I didn't get a run at all. And I got to run around.
We'll look at that as the summer of '88 goes on. Right around WrestleMania time, we lost a guy that, again, has sat in this chair, some great amount of respect for. King Harley Race. He injured himself in that match with Hulk Hogan on Saturday night's main event, doing the dive onto the table. They had to cut out 1.5 feet of the poor guy's intestines, and he got, as he said here, served with divorce papers at the same time from his wife. Could you tell in those final couple of weeks that Harley was in rough shape?
Yeah. I liked Harley a lot. I knew him well. Harley's been he's been through some serious stuff in his life. I mean, crazy stuff too. About his boating accident, right?
Yeah.
I've been out on the boat with him on that lake.
I hope you held on to the side.
And but what a true legend, what a true professional, what a true gentleman. Some people didn't get along with Harley. Maybe didn't like his style. He loved me. I had a great relationship with him. When I worked with him, somebody sent me a match one day, my friend Jake, and he said, there, it was, didn't Harley just died not recently,
Yeah,
right?
last year, yeah.
Yeah, it was right after Harley died, and he sent me this match that I had. Bobby Heenan was in the corner, and Harley and I are all over the place, inside the ring, outside of the ring. He's flying here, he's flying there. And just an unbelievable match. And because I've seen him have matches with guys, and not a whole lot going on there. He's holding them down, he's beating them up, he's dragging them around. It's not an enjoyable thing for them. And I'm working with him. He's taking bumps out of the ring, over the top rope, down to the floor, back up, over the ropes, flying over the ropes, in and out, then out of the ring, just crazy, all over the place. And it was just like, when I watched it again, I hadn't seen that match in 20 years. I was like, wow, how privileged and what an honor, how honored I felt that this guy thought enough of me just to put himself out there and work twice as hard trying to make me look good. That's passing the torch to the new guys, to the younger generation guys. That's helping to get the guys over to that point where you need to get to, and where I like to think I got to because of people like Harley. Just going out of their way to have a tremendous match with you, and make you look like $1 million out there. Because he didn't have to. Not for a second. He didn't have to do anything.
And he was really getting older at that point too. All those injuries and those big bumps onto concrete floors, they were starting to catch up with him.
Oh yeah, you bet they were.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but he would still go out there and give it 150%.
I wish we could have had him here in this studio more. We really produced some great content with Harley, and that was a tough one when we learned he passed. I know he wasn't doing all that well, but we spoke about trying to do something with him maybe just 3 or 4 months before he passed, but he was kind of confined to a wheelchair at that point, and it wasn't the most pleasant end to life for the guy. He was in a lot of pain, but you know, I'm sure he's up in wrestler's heaven. I think they're having parties up there that we can't imagine down here nowadays with all the guys upstairs.
Oh, you bet they are.
WrestleMania 4, I'm going to ask you this. It would happen a lot in the late 80s. The promotional sabotage that would kind of go on between WWF and NWA. WrestleMania 4 did fantastic business on its own, but on the flip side is revenge for what happened with the Royal Rumble and NWA's pay-per-view offering. NWA decided to have a free Clash of Champions event on TBS at the same time as WrestleMania 4. Do you think having a big event like that on free TV may have taken a little bit away from WrestleMania 4?
Wow. You know what? Come to think of it, I guess that's possible. But the idea, the politics of one company sabotaging the other somehow never really came into my thought process.
It wasn't something the guys would really think about?
Definitely nothing. I was having too much fun doing my thing, and there's nothing I would, thought that would ever enter my mind or any what I consider it. That's something I had no idea until you just said it that ever happened.
Really? You had no idea?
No.
They did it back-to-back WrestleManias. They ran big free 3-hour specials on TBS, head-to-head with Mania.
Yeah, I have bigger fish to fry, man.
There you go. You were frying the big fish on the pay-per-view itself, right?
Yeah.
That's what you were worried about.
Didn't worry about politics, man. I wasn't worried about politics. No politics.
Shortly after WrestleMania, another what I considered as a little guy, a surprise departure from WWF, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who just a year earlier had one of the great WrestleMania matches in company history. A year later, he loses to Greg Valentine in a forgettable tournament match, and then he's out the door. Were you surprised to see a guy like Ricky hit the road?
Yeah, I was trained with Ricky in the Carolinas when I was in the 70s, in the early 80s, 81 maybe, and was good friends with Ricky. And yeah, he had some personal issues and things. He had a good run. I thought he was maybe expecting a little bigger run, and when it didn't come, I think that's when he opted out. You know,
it was a short run. Again, he had that big feud and that big match with Savage at WrestleMania 3, and then within a couple of months, I guess he wanted a little time off with his wife and his little boy, and they decided to get the belt right off him and put it on Honky Tonk Man in '87.
Yeah, there's no take a couple months off and jump out, take a couple months off and jump back in. They don't do business that way.
I think maybe it was bad timing looking back at it to just be given the belt and then say, well, thanks, I need a couple of months off now. Usually it's the opposite. You know, that's when you're going to be your busiest.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he figured he had more stroke
maybe
than he had.
Yeah.
And never thought that they would call him out in the carpet for that. But they have a real bad habit of doing things like that.
Into the spring of '88, there was a wrestling challenge, Saturday Night Main Event taping. You had a match with Danny Davis when you not only gave him a little trim, but you actually spray painted the man. It was actually the debut of ring announcer Mike McGurk, the daughter of promoter Leroy McGurk, I should say, who did a little bit of commentary with Bruce Pritchard and the Duke of Dorchester on Primetime Wrestling. What did you think of what Mike added to the weekly presentation of the show? It was very different to see a woman holding that microphone.
She was one of the groundbreaking people. I knew Mike because she married Brian Blair, the Killer Bee. So I'd already met her. But Mike was great, a great person. She was fun to be around, and and she took everything in stride. Sometimes a woman hanging around all those wrestlers, you'd have to, be able to have some thick skin and, be able to look the other way over things going on and stuff. But Mike was always great, and would always mind her own business and take care of herself, and nobody ever bothered her or had any problems with her, and everything was always copacetic with Mike.
Certainly a trailblazer, considering where women's wrestling has gone in 2020. Another one, almost like I mentioned about Lanny Kai earlier, I think maybe she's someone that deserves a little bit more credit. Everything in WWE is presented as, you know, what they're doing with the women now is something new, but Mike McGurk had a really long run in the company, first doing a little bit of color commentary, and then as a ring announcer on the Wrestling Challenge shows each and every week.
Yeah, well, like I said, I like Mike. I thought she did a great job, and as far as I know, everybody liked her, so it made it easy. It was never a problem.
As the spring rolled along, May 5th, 1988, Hulk Hogan goes from becoming a world champion for the first time to becoming a dad for the first time. How did that change your friend's life for the better? I know you were down there. I believe you were in Florida, not too far away from him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We lived pretty close together. Talking about his daughter Brooke being born,
Yep.
right? Yeah. Yeah. Was at the hospital, looking through the window. He was standing next to me. They brought her out in a bassinet. She was 11 pounds.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Brought her out in the bassinet, set her there, and you had, baby, 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 and the bassinet, baby, bassinet, baby. He brought her out, bassinet, baby, from one end of the bassinet to the other. And he looked at her and said, "Oh my God, she's a freak, Brutus. She's gonna be a freak." Because she was such a big kid, but what a great kid Brooke turned out to be. She's just a tremendous singer and actor, and just does it all. A great kid. She turned out to be every father's dream. I was happy to be part of that day. When she was born, it was great.
Yeah, we did some work with Hulk and her when TNA did some pay-per-view and fan fests up here that we helped promote with them. And what a nice lady. Classy acting lady. As was Hulk and his new wife. I believe her name is Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer.
Nice people.
Yep.
Nice people. Well, anytime you have a little one come into your world, it certainly changes it. Your outlook on everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure he had the inkling maybe he wanted to be home a little more at that point, to be around the little one.
Yeah, it was tough. They had us traveling a lot, but he was lucky. He had a few days here and there off that nobody else got off.
Yeah.
He finagled a few days off here and there.
He'd get the weekdays off sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all the big shows were definitely on the weekends for sure, and the biggest venues and everything. And so he snuck a few days in and off. Off, believe me.
In '88, he pretty much had the whole summer off when they were filming the No Holds Barred movie, which was released later in 1989 when him and Zeus kind of went toe-to-toe. Was there any worry amongst anybody that it might hurt business a little bit, having a new face of the company for the summer, at least with Macho as the champion? Or was the company itself so hot at that point it really didn't matter, where there were A, B, C, sometimes D teams running anyway, and he wasn't on all four of them every night?
Company was in great shape. We had it rocking and rolling. Everybody, I was down there a few days in Atlanta while they were shooting that. They kept trying to get me into the production on film. I said, "No thanks, man. I'm going to sit out here and watch you guys take 2, take 3, and I'm going to drink a beer and relax and watch." And I wasn't interested, but that's where I first met Tiny Lister, Zeus. What a nice guy! What a super guy! I've worked with him extensively, with SummerSlam.
Sure did. Yep, the next year.
And then he came to WCW and worked with us several times after that too. And so he was a great friend, and we had great times together. Big guy, pretty big guy.
Did you know at the point when they were making the film that he was actually going to come in and work the next year once they released the movie? No.
No.
That was a very interesting transition. once that happened. I'm sure once we start talking about 1989, that'll come up. But certainly there's someone that was a scary, believable-looking guy.
Right, but this is a big stretch from a big, scary guy who's an actor.
Oh, sure, sure.
You know, and they yell cut, and the stuntman comes in and gets smashed through the wall, and then cut, and then the other guy comes back, and he did a great job though. He adapted well. Hulk and I worked with him just a couple days in the ring, and he listened real well and was very attentive and was serious about, because it's very important. There's no do-overs in there in the ring and
Right.
these things.
There's no cut.
You screw up, not only you're making yourself look bad, you're making us look bad. And he had great pride in his work. He was a good actor, and he was happy to get those under his belt. That and the cage match we had later on in December in Nashville, Tennessee, we had a cage match, and that was, his first cage match, and that was a good pay-per-view, and being able to pull that off, was an amazing thing, and great feather in his cap.
At that WrestleMania, knowing that the Hulkster was going to be out for the summer making the film, do you think Randy Savage was the right guy to put that belt on? Do you think maybe it would have been interesting to see a heel come out of WrestleMania 4 as a champ?
Randy, Macho Man was pretty hot. Did well with the belt. He was fine.
Like yourself, he had a big run with Honky Tonk Man on the house show circuit headed into 1988.
Yeah.
Honky Tonk had, I think he's underrated in a lot of ways. He had some great runs on top with a lot of people. Jake, Macho, yourself he had a big run with. He had a brief run with Warrior after the SummerSlam title change, as we'll talk about later in 1988. I think he was underrated. I was very happy that he finally went into the Hall of Fame with you.
Yeah, I like Honky. I met him back in 77 maybe. So I knew Honky a long time before WWF days. We had great history, and so it was always easy. It was always easy working with Honky. Never a problem. He was what I'd call a good old Southern boy like us, and like me and Hulk, and there's a lot of boys came out of Florida in the wrestling business, and the South, the Carolinas, and Georgia produced just tremendous numbers of top guys.
Yeah.
Over the years, just crazy amounts of talent came out of those areas.
Would you say of all your singles runs, Honky might have been the biggest?
Singles run?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Who, out of all your various opponents that you worked the loops with, who would you say was your biggest run with?
Oh, Hogan, without a doubt.
Yeah, see, I'm thinking about a babyface Brutus Beefcake, but you had that Hogan run into 80,
As a
back
heel.
in 85.
No, I had
yeah.
a great run as a heel.
Yeah.
Big timer as a heel. And then, a good run with Mr. Perfect, but that got cut short. See, that was
Because you got hurt, right?
That
right.
was going to be a good run for a real good long run there.
Another SummerSlam Intercontinental title match you were slated for before you got hurt. I remember that as a kid. I was so disappointed that obviously you weren't able to work the match, and it was Kerry Von Erich that wound up in the spot. But it just seemed like you didn't have a lot of luck with SummerSlam Intercontinental title matches.
Yeah, that was one 4th of July. I wish I could do a do-over on.
I know how you feel. I had an accident with the Iron Sheik that's left me with the cane at this point, still 15 years after the fact. Certainly not to the extent of what you went through, but those days, they stick in your mind. They really stick in your mind sometimes.
Absolutely.
But 88, 2 years before that, you were in the middle of such a great run. You were making so many millions and millions of people happy tuning into the various WWF shows, various WWF pay-per-view shows. Is there any word other than magic you could probably use at that point, where you had shows where everybody not some guys, everybody was over, to the point where, again, sometimes you had even C and D team shows on the weekends. Everybody was doing good business at that point. The merchandise was flying. There were toys. There were ice cream bars. It was just, again, a magical time for that company.
Yeah, and don't forget, MTV, VH1, we were rock stars. We brought wrestling into mainstream entertainment business. Hollywood stepped in, became cool to be a part of wrestling. We were able to come out of the closet, and suddenly, in the 80s, there was that explosion. It was just an explosion, and we were rock stars. I mean, no other explanation for it. We were really rock stars, traveling every night, town to town, watching, seeing the rock stars, seeing my friends at Leonard Skinner and Van Halen and Dizzy, and all, passing them on the road all the time. Well, they were just in the arena the 2 nights before us, and then boom, here we come. And here they go down the road here, and then bam, there we go.
We'll talk about it more when we have you back and discuss maybe 84 and 85. But I don't think people really appreciate how much WWF helped MTV as much as vice versa. I mean, it helped people get eyeballs on that MTV channel, which was a new cable channel at that point, with those big WWF live wrestling specials coming out of MSG, which ultimately led to WrestleMania 1.
Yeah, it was huge. The numbers that we were doing were incredible, and it was just it was a real special time, you know.
All right, wrestling fans, I got to say this. I hope you've enjoyed the content we've produced with Brother Brutus so much. We've been having a great time. And again, I think we've just scratched the surface. We're not even 6 months into 1988. We could probably produce these for years at this point.
Easily.
And have a lot of fun doing it at the same time.
We could easily do it.
Again, folks, we hope to have Brutus back later this fall. We want to do one of those live virtual autograph signings where fans from around the country and the world can get some autographed pictures, and especially this one right here. If you don't want to wait, BrutusBeefcake.com. You can get the autobiography, Brutus Beefcake, Strutting and Cutting. We're going to do more of an in-depth review of the book. I'm really looking forward to finally finishing it. I'm so busy on the Wrestling Insider episodes we do with Tony Atlas each Tuesday at 9 and Marty Jannetty every Thursday at 9. But Brutus, it's been a great kickoff to this series, and we hope for many more.
I'm looking forward to it, brother.
All right, for Brutus Beefcake, I'm Dan Marati. Until we speak again, folks, again, if you're watching the live chat, click the super chat, help these productions keep on kicking. We got the great merchandise on eBay and that Patreon service. Let's help keep the wrestling legends working. They've provided so much to our entertainment over the years. Let's do right by them. Be well, stay healthy, folks. We'll see you next week.